And this is the plotting workshop for satisfying beats. You will need something to write with. And here we go. When someone tells a joke, when you tell a joke, there's an established pattern, right? There's one sentence, second sentence. The punchline always happens in the third action, right? And it's not satisfying or funny if it happens in the second or the fourth. It's satisfying when it happens on the third. That is what we're going to be talking about today, is how to look at your plot and know this same concept expanded to a novel. What makes it feel satisfying? So, hello, my name is Alex Lidell. I'm a romance writer. I'm probably best known for Power of Five, which is a reverse harem book that got to the top 20 in the Amazon store. So that is where I'm coming from. If you do Cliff and Strengths, I am #1 analytical. So everything I look at, I ask why does it work that way? When we're talking about plot, there's lots of approaches to how you should plot. Save the Cat has an approach. You should do an 8-point plot. You should do a 15-point plot. You should do a 3-point plot. If you really look at a lot of these methods, they're saying very similar things in different ways. So it's not a contradiction, it's just saying very similar things but looking at them differently. Now, let me ask, as we get into this, let me ask, who here is a natural plotter? I want to have everything plotted out. Excellent. Who is a pantser? I don't know what's going to happen until I get there. Excellent. All right, the nice thing about the beats that we're going to be talking about is they work the same whether you are a plotter or a pantser. The difference being, if you're a plotter, before you write your novel, you're going to know what happens at all of these beats. If you're a pantser, I'm not here to make you a plotter. What I'm here to make you feel is that, hey, at this point, at my 25% mark, this type of action needs to happen. Now, you may not know what that type of action is until you get there. But what I want you to come out of this workshop with is the feeling that, hey, I'm at a quarter point. This is the type of thing that needs to happen here in order for it to feel satisfying. And you'll know what event it will be when you get there and about how long you have to develop it, all right? So it'll give you that beat, that pacing, that metronome, without saying, okay, if you don't have an outline, then you're gonna take 3 years writing your book and it's gonna be horrible. Right? We're not converting any pantsters into plotters. We're giving you a metronome that can help you create that plot that, just like when we were talking about a joke, it's funny when it's on the third line. You need to know that when it comes to the third line, this is where something needs to twist. Okay? So first, what's my ordinance? Okay. We're going to dissect first a really, really bad story. What we're going to do then is we are going to talk about the beats together. And as we do, we are going to write them out together so you get to try this out. So, if I have a story like this. Okay, this is my story. By the way, there are no PowerPoints here. I'm using this as a glorified whiteboard. All right. Here's my story. Once there lived a king and a queen. The queen lost her dress. The king loved cake. Okay, we all know this story doesn't work. And I'm going to say that the parameters here are a 3-sentence story. So it's not that it doesn't work because it's too short. Why does this not work? What's wrong with it? What is it? There's no cause and effect. Okay. There's no structure to it. That's what we were talking about. We want the beats because without that structure, another word for beats, we end up with that. Okay, what else? I'm looking for cohesive? No, it's all talking about kings and queens. We're all really in the same ballpark.
But there's no relationship with queen.
They're married.
No conflict.
No, who said that?
No conflict.
No conflict. Very nice. They are married. So the three things that we really need to change about the story is it needs to have a structure. It needs to have cause and effect between all of these actions, and it needs to have conflict. And if we are at the basic level talking about this in three sentences, and I like the three sentences because it really strips out everything else to really drive home the story. This would be like a triangle. There would be an inciting incident, something is going to happen, and then there's going to be a twist on it, and then there's going to be a resolution. So instead of once there lived a king and a queen, how could a one sentence be an inciting incident sentence? Once the king killed the queen. I gotta say, with this particular three sentence exercise, when I took to school groups, I love doing it. The kids come up with amazing 3-sentence stories. And one of the rules I say, this cannot be a homicide story because So it could, because then that's all that happens for the rest of the period, is they come up with various ways that the king killed the queen. Once, have you seen this before? True. Once the king stole the queen's dress, inciting incident, right? Something happened. Okay, what could be a climax? What would be, what twist? A twist. Give me a twist. Second sentence. Once the king stole the queen. What the king? So. Hold on. Whoa. We need a cause and effect. The king stole the queen's dress. The queen stole his cake in return. Okay.
The king gave it to his niece.
We don't have a cause. We don't have a resolution to that twist. Okay, so in return, the queen took his tuxedo. What is the resolution? Why do we care? Give me a 3-sentence on this. And they swapped genders from that point on. All right? That is our twist. So because the queen, inciting incident, something happened. The king did something, right? The queen turned it around, and then we had a resolution. If we had more time, we'd write 3-sentence stories right now, but I'm going to skip ahead because our books are not going to be a 3-sentence story. Our books are going to go ahead and have a larger plot setting, but we will use that as the king and our king and queen story. We will continue. Here's how this is going to work. I'm going to explain the beat. I'm going to give you an example of a beat. And then you are going to write your own beat. So I want you to take a minute. You can either choose a work in progress that you personally have. You can, if you're high ideation on Clifton Strengths, those are the people that have more ideas than they could possibly write books in their lives. There's some people here who are going, yep, that's me. And some people are going, oh my gosh, no. If you're an ideation person, feel free to grab an idea from the air. If all of this is feeling a little overwhelming, and you're like, look, I do not have a book I'm working on, I don't have a random idea, go ahead and pick a movie or a TV show or a book that you've seen, and you're going to reverse engineer this with us, all right? So you're going to use the story that you already know, and you're going to identify those keywords. So as the first thing, we're going to do just one line so that we know when we're later sharing. Give me a setting. Where are we? So in my case, once there was a kingdom with a kingdom queen. This isn't a plot. This is just a place where we're starting out. So go ahead, use your piece of paper. Just write a sentence so that we know generally what world we're in and dealing with. Mine would be, once there was a kingdom with a kingdom queen. Okay. Inciting incident. Everybody has just the setting down so that you know what we're dealing with? Okay. Inciting incident. Just like when we talked in the 3-sentence story, your inciting incident is what is going to set the story in motion. Inciting incident comes right after you've established the status quo. So you've presented the reader with a glimpse of what the character's life is like before something happens, before they receive the letter that turns it around. Before their husband says, I'm divorcing you. So think about a declaration of a divorce is a major inciting incident. But it has more power if you first showed the wife, leading a married life and expecting this married life to continue. Right? Now the feeling of a divorce, you understand why it's inciting things into motion. If you were to just start out with him saying, we're getting a divorce, that's the normal for the reader. If your character is going to suffer a big traumatic event, they're an athlete and the inciting incident is going to be that they're going to be paralyzed. Well, then, before the inciting incident, your setup, right, your initial setting, show them playing football. Show them winning the game. Show them living their life as an athlete in a brief glimpse, right? But in a brief glimpse so that when the inciting incident comes, you know there's gonna be a change. So in my story, see, told you. That's why I'm looking at you. All right. Inciting incident in my story is once the king stole all the queen's dresses. One sentence, right? We're not going to be writing the whole novel here. Given your setup, write one sentence of something that sets the story in motion. Do we have it? Okay, give me a couple of sentences I want to hear. Absolutely. What's your setting? What's your setup?
My setup is trimming hands calling him
Okay, so your setup is for our purposes to say it. Okay, okay. Paula finds out that she's pregnant.
She just had to sleep. She didn't know it. And the next one is another people I'm sitting back there. I have never taken a pregnancy test, so I don't know what that's like.
Okay, so is your story going to be that the inciting incident of the story is going to be that she finds out she's pregnant? Okay, so then before, in order to make this really potent for the reader, I briefly show why being pregnant is a huge interruption to her life or a huge happiness point to her life. It makes a difference. You give us a brief glimpse that Paula has been trying to get pregnant for the last 10 years, and finally, this was going to be her last chance to find out, right? Or you're going to tell us that Paula is 15 years old and about to go into 10th grade and she hasn't been feeling well, right? Tell us that's going to change our image of the inciting incident. So it's not the trembling hand, it's not that she's nervous that we need to set up. We need to contrast her state of pregnancy against whatever life she was living before that. Okay, does that make sense? Oh, please.
So, there once was a tower full of mages in a city hidden from everybody.
Okay, we have a city that nobody knows about, a bunch of mages live there.
The magic that hides them from the world is starting.
Okay, and so your inciting incident is going to be, would be a showing on the page of an example that they're discovering a failure, right? So that is going to make a sharper incident, even though it's exactly what you said. It's starting to fail. What we would see on the page is, oh my God, this I've just discovered. This has been going on just fine. Maybe I'm on routine patrol of my wards, and it's not working. And this is a big deal. It's going to be very sharp, as opposed to, which is not what you said, I'm just using it to example, as opposed to, some two people standing around talking, this has been slowly starting to happen. I think it might, it might be starting to fail. Our inciting incident, the sharper you can make it, the more punch it's going to have. That is why we're having our pre-existing world and let the characters discover this incident on stage. If they're getting the letter, we see them getting the letter. If the major thing is that the wards are starting to fail, the slowly part, that's something you're going to adjust for the plot, right? The part of the incident, and suddenly there is a failure. Now, for plot-wise, you'll explain, that, we think we have whatever your ticking clock is, but the real thing is a ward has failed. The magic has failed. It's never happened before, and it has failed, right? Nice and crisp. I'll come back to you guys after the next one, okay? Because I want to go, okay. About a quarter of the way through is going to be plot point one. Plot point one is going to be a major action. Notice the word action that the character takes that changes, that is a first change of direction. So, plot point one. So for the first, quarter, right, then I'm like, who looked at my notes? So for the first quarter of the book, you're allowed to have this characters react to what's happening. They may be in denial, they may be arguing about it, They may be preparing to go on this journey, right? If we're talking about, let's say, Star Wars and the basic hero's journey, right? There's a call to action, there's a call to adventure, and then the hero says, nah, never mind, that's not me, I don't want to do that. So they could be say, I don't want to, they could be mulling it over, they could be, she discovered that she's pregnant, and she's kind of, maybe it's a wrong test, maybe I'll hide it, maybe I'll go talk about it, but she's kind of in a reactionary state. But by the quarter point, so at a quarter point mark, your character is going to make an affirmative step that's going to change their world. So if our pregnant girl had been, figuring out what to do and, what she should and shouldn't and trying this thing and this thing, she's going to make an affirmative step. She's going to go into an abortion clinic and say, I don't want this child. She's going to run away from home with her parents and move in with her boyfriend because that's the only way she can keep the baby. She is going to make an affirmative change that in her world is no longer going to be the same. Our hero, Luke, is going to leave his home planet and go somewhere. So in our story here, the queen thinks, this is because she thinks this is an act of the gods, so she dresses, she's got no dresses of her own, so she dresses herself in his robe and she sits on the king's throne. The world has changed. A different person has taken the throne. Here she might have been looking for the dress, debating it, thinking she should get new dresses, accusing people, but at the 25% mark, there's an action that changes the character's world. Write your sentence. All right? Can we have somebody? Okay. Go ahead. What is your setup?
In the Fey kingdom of elsewhere, the everlast family has sat on the throne for 7,000 years.
Okay, we have Fey Kingdom, same family on the throne forever.
Can you
Inciting
repeat
incident?
the whole sentence? I can't hear back here.
I'm going to repeat what she says. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you didn't repeat what she said. You summarized it?
Yes, I am summarizing it because for our purposes, we're not worrying about the exact lyrics of the words. We're worrying about what is the true meaning. Her initial, how she phrases it for the purpose of plotting is irrelevant. What's relevant is she has a family on the throne that's been there forever. Okay, what is the inciting incident?
A human servant kills the fairy king and wins his crown.
Human servant kills the king, now human and a servant is on the throne. So big change has happened. There was a ruling family. Okay, now everyone's like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Now what? What is gonna happen at about 25% mark that's going to change the character's world?
The king's sons aren't giving up their their power without a fight and are willing to hunt her for the crown.
Okay, so what she said was the king's sons aren't giving up and are willing to hunt her for the crown. All right, I want to work with this because that is not an action. They're just willing to do it. So an action might be the king's sons set out to assassinate the new queen, right? The action the clear action that needs to happen at that point is a character making a decision. Who's your main character? Is this about the sons or
The servant.
the servant? Okay, so
Okay.
our small problem is that she might not know about this.
What actually happens at 25% is the tournament starts.
Okay, so you're gonna have a tournament where the life of this new queen is in active danger. So there's something that has to change. So maybe, I know this may not be your story, I'm just gonna invent something for the purposes of, maybe at this point, she's been like ruling without a problem and now she's gotta take a defensive action. Maybe she's put in this tournament and now it's a whole new set of rules that the whole world is playing by. And now there is a price on her head. The key is there's gonna have to be an action that happens, and your character makes a decision to take the action. Your character does not accidentally, right? It's not happens by accident. Your character takes a proactive step. I'm gonna, so that we have, my time is running, so I know that you wanted to share. We're gonna go with you next if you still want to, right? All right. That is going to be the end. That is going to be Act 1. Midpoint is going to be at the midpoint of the book, 50%. At the 50% mark, a complication happens. It got even worse when this new thing happened. It does not have to be a full change of direction, but it is a major new thing that happens. Oftentimes, this is either a false victory or a false defeat. The sons wanted to assassinate the new queen, and they think they defeated her. They think they made it. The sons wanted to assassinate the queen, and she fought them back, and banished them, and she thinks she won. Right? False victory, false defeat, whatever is the opposite of what's going to happen. Oftentimes, around here, if you're having a sex at 60, this is oftentimes when the characters are going to have a major get-together, depending on what your steam level. This could be the first kiss, this could be the time they have sex, again, depending on what your steam level is. As a midpoint, after this midpoint, things are going to start escalating very quickly. If you've read the book Save the Cat, Save the Cat will call the time between plot point 1 and midpoint fun and games, the promise of the premise. This is, if you were going to make a movie poster, this is the part where they're going to pull, the scenes from. This is what's the fun thing that happens when you've got a human girl on the throne and a bunch of elves hunting her. What fun things can happen? After the midpoint, after this new complication, there really won't be any more room for these fun things. Everything is going to start tumbling towards the climax. So, false defeat, false victory. This is the sex at 60. Another way of thinking about the midpoint is if you like musicals and you go to musicals or plays and there's an intermission in the middle, and there is usually a major change after that intermission, right? There's often a change of tone. You know, they were singing one way and all happy, and then the French Revolution starts. And things are going differently. So my Act 2, here is my midpoint. Things got more complicated when not only is she sitting on the throne, but she's now negotiated and she's now acted as a head of state, and there's a vital peace treaty. Now her being the head of state is suddenly really for reals. What is yours? Do you still want to share? Okay, so what is our setup? Okay, so we are in the far from now. So we're in the future, and there's an enchanted forest. What is the inciting incident? Okay, so what she read a very lyrical and well-written sentence about approaching footsteps and scurrying animals. What I would love to see is if your inciting incident is going to be that something isn't right, I want to see if maybe is this forest suddenly, all the animals used to all live together and dance happily, and suddenly this day, they all scatter. It's got to be a change, because really when I'm thinking of a forest, animals kind of scatter a lot. You know, there's thunderstorms and they scatter. I want to see something that happens that is very different, that's going to signal to the reader, this is not a normal thing. Okay, what is plot point 1? Okay, so what she read was soon the footsteps stop, and suddenly there's an arrow, there's a shooting arrow. All right, so I want you to, it's an awesome start to a story. For the purposes of the drill we are doing, I want you to go back to it, and we'll come back to you either here or afterwards, because one thing is we have a whole quarter of a book between the inciting incident and plot point 1, right? And a quarter of a book didn't happen between the sound and the footsteps stopping, right? You didn't really spend a quarter of a book talking about the sounds. So see, I think what you're really doing, and I see that a lot, is you're taking the inciting incident and you're using like really nice verbiage for it, but all you're still describing is the inciting incident. See if you could say what is going to happen, at a quarter point and a midpoint, all right? So we'll come back, see if you can rework that a little bit. So did you guys get the reason why I said let's rework this? Because what she was doing, she had really beautiful language. And that is also why I paraphrase, is because to get you away from showing off your really beautiful language. Because for the plotting, we're really hitting the beats. We're saying third line has to be a punchline. Somewhere else you'll worry about, how to say it and how to phrase it, but its third line is a punchline. So she was describing an intense situation that was really, really good, but it was all one situation. And I was pushing her that when we're looking at a whole story, the world is going to change at a quarter point, we're not just plotting the first part, oh my god, I have to. That is that seems to be that is my false defeat here. Yeah. Okay, plot point 2, 75%. Plot point 2 is the second major change that changes the foundation of the world again. It happens at 75%. So notice here, in this case, the king got tired of the joke and he said, forget it, we're going back to the way things were, here's your clothes back. So notice plot point 1, whatever world the character was in, they took a step and that world changed. Midpoint, something interesting and complex happened, but plot point 2, 75%, the world has changed again. Maybe they were running away from the bad guy, and at this point, that's it, they're going after the bad guy. Maybe the girl ran away from home because she wanted to keep the baby, and things happen, complications happen, and at plot point 2, maybe she decides she needs to go back to her parents. She's going to change her world again. Or she's had her baby and she's given the baby up for adoption and comes back and pretends that nothing has ever happened. Or she gave her baby up for adoption earlier, and now she decides, no, I need to be a parent. And she's now decided she needs to track down this baby and get her back. But the world has changed. So growing tired of the joke, the king returned the stolen clothes, and the queen returned to her former self. This is going to not work. Our climax, as a result of this, our climax is going to happen. One other point between midpoint and plot point 2. Oftentimes they're mirrors of each other. If there was a false victory, and if everything seemed to be going really well at the midpoint, at plot point 2, that's going to undo it. Or at the plot, as we go towards the climax, it's going to undo it. So here's my climax. Seeing a different person on the throne, the ambassador grew furious at the deception and ripped up the peace treaty and threatened war. Write the climax to your story. Yep. This is your climax. So okay. Actually, more complicated question. In reality, when you're going to write the climax, oftentimes there's a twist towards it, right?
Right. So like, I guess I was like, am I writing the whole thing, or?
You're writing a sentence to kind of indicate what's going to happen. Climax might be, there is, the battle happens. The prince goes to rescue the princess. In reality, a climax, when you write this out, it is not going to be one single event. But where are we? Where are we going? Remember, we're doing the beats. So, my pregnancy story, this is where she, tracked down her baby, but the adoptive parents say, no way, you're not having her. And the climax is them going to court. The climax is her stealing the baby. The climax is her deciding that if I can't have the baby, then I'm going to kill us both. No homicide. She's not going to go through with it. That's just what she wants to do. She's not actually going to go through with it.
And I was just thinking, if this ends up being a news story, I'm going to be so upset. I'm trying to keep it as basic as possible.
All right. And after the climax, where are we going to end our resolution? To keep the country at peace, the king and queen had to switch places forever. What is your resolution? Think of the main conflict in your story and how has it resolved? All right, strategic. We're writing a standalone.
You should have started with that because I haven't done this for a standalone.
She's number one strategic. She doesn't plan a story, she plans a world. There's no resolution? No, it's okay. What is the main, okay, so let's dissect. What was your,
I don't know, I really don't know.
okay, we'll figure it out.
The thing is, once there was a hotel room with a man and a woman,
Okay.
alright? My inciting incident is the man disappeared into a portal in the bathroom.
Ooh, all right.
Okay.
There was a hotel. I'm repeating because I think the mic only picks up they're virtual people, so I'm gonna repeat. So once there was a hotel room, man and woman. Inciting incident. They were hanging out in the hotel. Suddenly, man disappears through a portal. Did we change worlds? Right? Did something new happen? Yes. All right.
Okay? My plot point one is the woman follows her lover to the new world.
And we established that they're lovers, right?
Well, we just did.
Wow.
Before we didn't know, but now we do.
It took you a quarter of the book to figure out that she loves him.
Well,
All right.
I didn't say she loves him, I said they were lovers.
Okay, they're lovers. All right. Okay. So quarter of the book, right? Our initial thing is guy disappeared, and apparently good riddance to him.
I
Good.
could have gone that way if you said it was for a standalone.
So good riddance. We're working with this. Good riddance. But somewhere at a quarter point, she decides that, yeah, he disappeared with my Apple Watch. I gotta get that thing back. So.
I feel like there was another option. We were like, hey, you have a portal to get rid of people. Who else can you get rid of?
She goes, or she's like, dude, I gotta test this out because I've got a few more people to disappear. So world is going, our inciting incident was a change from the normal world. It was all normal, no portals to be seen, portal appears, it eats people. That's the inciting incident, right? It sets things to motion. Plot point one, our main character, our girl, she says, I'm going to a new world. Notice she took an affirmative step that she decided on. She didn't accidentally trip into it. She made an affirmative step. She's now in a different world. What is the midpoint?
She meets a group of demons who show her the lover sits on the throne of heaven.
Midpoint, she discovers that the guy she came out after is now okay, so he is the king on the throne. So maybe she had gone to rescue him and discovered that he don't need rescue. Alright? Or she went to disappear him and now she's like,
Me too.
ooh, I'm maybe the one who is, gonna be disappeared here. So something, it became a big complication.
So
Plot point
plot
2.
point 2 is she finds out her lover is the devil, and now she has to fight him or lose her wings.
Okay, so to that, a lot of that is probably, I'm going to dissect that a little bit because a lot of that probably happened at the midpoint. She was already sitting on the throne, so the chances of him going from, he's sitting on the throne of hell, and she doesn't realize that he's the devil, but.
She has confirmation.
So more likely, what your true plot point 2 is that I have 4 seconds, and we're just gonna go with this. I'm making this up. Her plot point 2 is that she has to fight for her continual existence. In this existence, she has wings. This is made up her identity. Now it's my story, so whatever you wrote. But she is now. Right. So she has to fight for her identity and fight for her wings. How does this end? Someone shout out to me. How does this end?
She takes over hell.
She wins and takes over hell and sends him back through the portal. She closes the portal and now rules hell. So that is the resolution.